Hi guys, how you guys doing? Monday, first day of the week or the business week. Anyhow, so I'm gonna kind of recap things that I talked about over the week. Um, so let's start off. First off, I wanted to show you guys those who vape. Pretty much, I picked up the E-Leaf 50 watt box mod. I picked it up at Vapor Vortex downtown Phoenix. So yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, if I want to compare it to my 30 watt that I have here. So this is a 30 watt. You guys see the firing buttons right there and the watt and volt adjustments right there. And that is the 50 watt. So hell of a lot bigger. I was going to get the Kanger box, the K box basically, but that one was, I mean, it was cheaper than this one. It was like $40, but then you had to buy an additional battery, and like the guy was telling me, it doesn't have like a passway charger. So you would actually have to buy an external charger for the 18650 batteries. And yeah, I didn't want to go through all that hassle. So I just wound up getting the 50 watt ice stick by E-Leaf. So anyways, the reason why I brought up vaping in this live stream is Google Plus. Basically, I've been seeing a lot of people starting to post their mods, pictures of them vaping and cloud production that they are producing when they're vaping, and so I thought it was like pretty cool. There's something new that I noticed on Google Plus. I really haven't seen that before. Usually, it's always tech stuff. I mean, Google Plus is like flooded with tech, at least for me, because Google Plus is smart enough to know my interests. So a lot of things that has to do with tech, it kind of like suggests it, and then I wind up following people who post things about tech, and then follow communities that have to do with tech and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's just been one hectic tech fest on Google Plus for me, which is, I guess, is the reason why Google Plus is my preferred social networking site above anything else, just for the simple fact that things that I'm more interested in is posted up there rather than like on Facebook. I mean, I know that there's some tech stuff on Facebook, but I mean, it just depends on who you follow, and I don't know. I guess like a lot of my friends are really not into mobile technology, so it's like I get very little support, but that's all right though. I mean, I have you guys, and most of you guys are on Google Plus that I've noticed so far, and that's actually pretty cool for me. So like that's the reason why Google Plus is like my preferred social network. But I mean, I still go to Facebook, and that's just because my family's there and whatnot. I've said this before in past videos, but that's like, yeah, that's really just kind of like my preferred place, Google Plus. And this is really cool now because another thing that I'm interested in, which is vaping, is actually starting to become popular on Google Plus. I don't know how long it's been popular on there, but I've just been exposed to it maybe over the last 2 months. And I'm starting to see like all kinds of photos just posted up, and it's really cool. I guess it's like such a big deal for me because quitting smoking is hard. It's very hard, and when I see people actually like doing it, it just it makes it just like just really cool. Just like, wow, I did it, and I can see other people that are feeling healthier and happier being off cigarettes. So anyways, you gotta forgive me because I just basically had dinner. The family's out. I get the whole place to myself, complete silence. And so utilizing the time that I have to do a live broadcast, which is something that I find really awesome. I mean, to get the time to do this. And I guess basically on Mondays is when that's basically going to happen. So anyhow, so let's recap some of the stuff that I talked about this week. I did post up a video about mobile tech kind of not being so, there's not a lot of innovation in it anymore. And, just to kind of go in depth with that a little bit, I guess is partial the reason that just my interest is kind of starting to die down a little bit. Not that like I don't want to do any more videos or anything like that. It's just when you see articles that is just basically the regurgitation of the same thing over and over. It's like when the S6 comes out, I mean, that's all you really hear about is the S6. When the G4, is coming out, that's all you hear right now is stuff about the G4 and the G4 versus this phone and that. I mean, like, I know they're flagships, okay? Whoever's gonna like post up and say, well, they're flagships, and that's why getting such the attention. And it's like, yeah, every tech blogging site is really competing, to put out the best article. I get that. It's just you can't help to be like a little depressed. Like, that's the only thing that's really going up right now. I mean, and I think that's where I guess like it just kind of like bugs me just a little bit. It's just like, all right, like, could there be more done out there? Because I mean, when you look at the G4, you look at the S6, you look at the M9. One thing that most people can say that's pretty consistent with those flagships is the fact that not really much was done to change. It's tossed out there that the G4 is like the flagship savior, and I think the only reason why is just the fact that it has a removable battery and it has expandable memory. I believe the M9 has expandable memory, but it still has no removable battery. It's still built with the same style of the unibody, style, and I think that's where like a lot of people are just a little frustrated with it. It's just like, if you take the M7, the M8, and the M9 and you put them side by side, I mean, the only way you can actually tell the difference between them is by the cameras that they have. And that's bad. I mean, I guess, most people are looking for some kind of cosmetic change when it comes to their flagship devices of the current year that they're in. So with this year, for certain that people wanted the M9 to have a little change to it, a little bit more change actually cosmetically, and they're just, they're looking for more done as far as software wise, and that could be said, the same way with the S6. I mean, like, there's like a ton of people that are just like the S6 or the S6 Edge, and they're all about it. I mean, like, and that's all that you have coming out for you. Like, there's really nothing else coming out. If you're a person who loves Samsung, then that's really all you got to rock with. The Note 4, the S6, and the S6 Edge is really all that you got as far as flagship wise to rock with. And so you're just, that's all you can pretty much put out there. And so, people that are like diehard Samsung fans, maybe somewhere inside of them, they're not too happy with the S6, but I mean, that's what they have. And so some new things that it does, have, they're going to boast about. But I mean, it's kind of going vanilla. Really, that's what that's like the word to describe. It's going vanilla. There's not much wow factor. As I stated in the video that I posted up earlier this week about it, like I was saying, the last shock factor that I had was the Sharp Aquos Crystal, which made me get it no matter how many bad reviews it has, and even till today, how much problems that it gives me. I had to grab it and pretty much own one. Was just it was a really, really good looking device. Some people disagree, but it's different. It's not the same old normal stuff. Like for right now, like my daily driver, I'm using the Warp Sync. Okay, now if I was to hold this outside, like, I guarantee no one's gonna know that it's the Warp Sync. They're not gonna just take a very good look at it and be like, oh yeah, that's the ZTE Warp Sync. Like, no way. I mean, from the front, it just looks like any other smartphone that there is out there. I mean, different ones or whatever, that have the front-facing camera on top. They have capacitive buttons at the bottom. I mean, they can easily mistake it for any other device out there. And with the Aquos Crystal, you can't mistake it for anything. There's not another device that looks exactly like it with the edgeless displays. I mean, there are devices that are coming out that will have edgeless displays, but they don't look exactly like the Aquos Crystal. I mean, some of them still have like the top bezel and the bottom bezel, and just like the sides are the edgeless display part, and so you still have a front-facing camera on the top. Well, with the Aquos Crystal, they try to do at least 3 out of 4. that's really what it is. Like, I mean, it's just the innovation's gone in a way, and I hope in 2016 that changes. I hope, like, maybe these last couple of years that we've had just very small changes to the flagships and whatnot, that in 2016 it's going to be where they can actually do like a huge jump as far as the build quality, cosmetically, how it looks, and then also feature wise. I mean, as technology gets bigger, we're moving into 64-bit processing. We should be able to start adding in more features that we couldn't before. And I know it takes time for them to develop that, and then we're slowly getting into them. And hey, that's fine. But I'm just I'm really hoping for some kind of change. To me, I guess also just what worries me is like maybe like these companies are just getting a little bit lazy. I'm not sure. Like, because they build the hardware, and Android's a software that runs on their device. As far as when it comes to Apple builds its own hardware and software. And this past generation iPhone is the first time that they've had two variants to um, their flagship release. So the iPhone 6, came out with the regular iPhone 6, which was 4.7-inch display, and then a 5.5-inch display, the iPhone 6 Plus. Normally, you just get like the iPhone 5, and then later on that year, the iPhone 5S comes out. I mean, you could say they make two a year, but usually it's like they drop their flagship, and then any other thing that they could have done to it that maybe they didn't think of at the time, that's when they instill it within the S version. So then the iPhone 5S will have like some new features added to it that the iPhone 5 didn't have, and that's pretty much like what most Apple fanboys and stuff, that's what they're used to as far as what hardware they're getting. And then, so like I said, the iPhone 6, the iPhone 6 Plus was like the first time that you released two flagships simultaneously, side by side, just catering to both those that wanted a phablet-sized iPhone, and then those that just wanted the basic phone but a bigger screen, and they got the 4.7-inch display. So I mean, I'm thinking because of that reason that manufacturers have kind of become a little lazy, I guess, kind of slowed down. I'm not really going to pin a lot of the blame on the software itself, because Android is still kicking gears. But at the same time too, I do have a gripe with Android, is the fact that I feel like they also have kind of started to slack a little bit. Basically, it was like when they were dead behind iOS, they were like this powerhouse with this huge just momentum behind them, just pushing them up the charts until they can pass iOS and be able to say that they're on top of their game. And it's like, now that they've passed it, it's like now they kind of like slow down, letting iOS catch up to them. And I know competition is good and everything like that, but I just figure when there's a lot of hunger, a lot of determination, and that brings forth better innovation when it comes to mobile tech. And I think that and besides Android needing to just stay on the ball and roll with it, I also think too that manufacturers should kind of like start thinking a little bit outside the box when it comes to hardware, and stop betting your chips on flagships. I mean, flagships, yes, like people want the best smartphone that a manufacturer can offer. So you rock with HTC, then you want the M9, because that could be like the best that HTC comes out with. But there are millions and millions of people who don't even go that route anymore. I mean, especially these, this day and age when it's like, people are trying to save an extra dollar when they can. So there's people that are, switching over to prepaids, and prepaids is making a killing. I mean, if you look at Sprint, one of the things that I didn't mention in the last video when I was talking about, Sprint holding on to their number 3 spot in mobile tech. Basically, a lot of their success is actually happening with their prepaid services. So like Virgin Mobile, Boost Mobile, they've done really good to help Sprint maintain its number 3 slot in the battle between the big four. So anyways, yeah, I mean, people are switching over to prepaids, and that is like, with the prepaids, you get devices like this. You don't, I mean, they do carry some flagships, but like they carry like last year's flagship. Or Boost Mobile's actually been doing pretty good, because they're getting, I think they got it already, the S6, and that's actually this year's current flagship from Samsung. But You know, I mean, on a side note, I'd love to see the HTC One M9 come to Boost Mobile. I would really love to see the LG G4 pop up on Boost Mobile too. You know, like there are people who are willing to spend $400 or $500 on that. I mean, you know, I've seen people downtown Phoenix today rocking Boost Mobile Galaxy S6, and I know they got Boost Mobile because they got the little Boost Mobile lanyard and a case for it, and it's just like, you know, you can just tell that they went prepaid on that. But I mean, you know, they're not getting anything different from what they would get if they were on postpaid on a 2-year contract, or if they did that whole leasing option where you lease the phone and it adds to your bill every month until you pay it off. I mean, they're not getting anything different than that. You know, I mean, well, at least for here in Phoenix, I can't really state that all across the U.S. because that's one thing about prepaid is that you'll get better service in your metro areas than you will in like the rural areas. So, but yeah, flagships, man, they really got to stop betting all their chips on flagships, and this is just what happens. And this is why they have like such bad quarters, is because when they invest a lot of their time and money and effort into a flagship, and they really don't bring what their fan base is expecting, well, then it's like they just, you know, they lost on a lot. And yeah, you know, they make their mid range and then their low end devices, and those seem to sell a lot more. And on top of that too, like, I mean, kind of going on, development's also kind of slowed down too as well. You have a lot of developers out there who pay more attention to flagships, and again, you know, it's always like flagships. Like, I know I've said it, they're popular. People try to go for those when they have the extra money. They know they can afford it. They will go buy themselves one of the flagship devices. And I just think it's so weird that developers tend to only work within what's, you know, a flagship device and what's close to it as far as spec wise. So, you know, like if they go with the Galaxy S6 and maybe there's like another Galaxy device that Samsung puts out this year that is a mid range, they'll kind of work with that. But I think it's sad to say that, you know, a lot of other great phones out there that are made by like Huawei, ZTE, and Alcatel, like they don't have much development for it. There's not a lot of developers who are willing to just jump in and try to work their magic with those devices. And I don't know, you know, I see a lot of people's frustrations like on Android forums and stuff like that. Like, you know, they're just very frustrated because, you know, like the Warp Sync right now, there's still no root for this phone. This phone's been out for a while now, and it's like, I remember back in the day, a phone could come out like say February, and either during February or maybe like a month after, there was already roots. With this, it's not the case, you know, and KitKat is not the most stellar operating system that came out of Android. It's like, it was kind of cool just for some of the stuff that they were offering, and I think one of the major things about KitKat was like the Google Now launcher and the voice command Google Now search. But other than that, I mean, taking away people's abilities to move apps over to SD card and making, you know, use of an SD card was like, well, it's like putting a gun to the back of Android and just basically shooting it from behind. I mean, because you had a lot of devices like the Warp Sync that has expandable memory up to 64 gigabytes, and you can't utilize the SD card other than holding pictures because, yeah, you can't really move anything to it. I mean, you can't move applications over to it. And I gotta say, like the Warp Sync, like I said this before, this phone's a beast. I mean, for a mid-tier device, it's got 2 gigs of RAM, so the RAM really helps. This phone can handle it. You know, it's no lag at all whatsoever. Even gaming, there's no lag at all whatsoever. So, I mean, the device is really much does what it's supposed to do. And the only thing that sucks about it is that there's no root, so I can't actually, you know, patch the fix for SD card, and I can't move apps to SD. Just, you know, I mean, you just want to have that ability. I mean, that's always been a part of the Android OS for, you know, since I started using Android. You always had the ability to move apps over to the SD card. It's just sad. This KitKat was just a really big flop. So yeah, without any developers actually working on it, you know, there's a ton of people who maybe switched over from like a postpaid carrier and decided to go to Boost Mobile, and they're like, oh, the Warp Sync has 2 gigs of RAM, so that's like the closest powerful device that they can get that was close to what they had, like say on Verizon or something. So they buy it, and then they realize they can't move apps to SD, and they just get so totally pissed off that they like cancel service. And I see this a lot. That's just one thing I really see a lot of, is like the moment they realize they can't move apps over to SD card and they go up on the forums and they're like, is there root for this device? And then people are like, no, we're still looking for it. We're waiting for developers. We need developers. And that's like a week later, they comment on there like, oh, don't worry about it. I took my phone back and switched over and went to, T-Mobile and got me like the Galaxy S4 or something. Like, it always happens. It never fails that scenario always happens. And you know what? Like, it really hurts the company. Like, I really don't see why there's really such a huge big deal against rooting a device anyways. I mean, first off, the biggest excuse from carriers is that, if you root your device, you're going to steal the network because you're going to tether your phone as a hotspot. And it's like, oh my God, when I tether my device as a hotspot, I'm using the same data that I would use if I was using the phone. So what would be the difference? The phone is still being in use. The difference is that I'm not looking on a small screen. If I can tether internet connection from my smartphone to my laptop, I'm just viewing my websites that I'm looking at on my laptop, which doesn't mean that I'm not using your service. So why can't we just be able to tether our device as a hotspot for free? Now, it's pretty ridiculous that all they really care about is money, and that's all they're going to aim for. That's all they're going to do is just say, we'll give you 2 gigs of unlimited 4G LTE, and then you're throttled to 128 kilobytes per second of data. And if you want to use that same data speeds and that same data from your phone as a hotspot, you have to pay us $30 just to make your phone a beacon to output internet signal. I mean, that's just freaking stupid. And even if they cop that little thing like, oh, well, it's kind of like stealing data if you use your phone as a hotspot and there's like 4 other phones in your house connected to it, those phones shouldn't be paying for their own data. It's like, it doesn't matter. I'm still using the service. I'm still using the data that I paid for, that you're supposed to honor and give me. So what should it matter if there's a couple of phones that are deactivated that's tethering off my phone that is activated? You're still getting your dollar bills at the end of the month. And it's so frustrating that carriers are like that. And because of that, they want all kinds of ridiculous things done, like locked bootloaders. They want the bootloaders just so locked down, and which is why, a couple of other bloggers are basically not using any Verizon or AT&T devices on their reviews because they have locked bootloaders. So it's like nearly impossible to root majority of the devices, which is a blessing for Galaxy S6 users because there is a root method that does not trip Knox, and it works on all variants of the S6, including the AT&T and Verizon models. So you'll be able to root those. So big ups and thumbs up to those who bought a Galaxy S6 on Verizon. You guys are so lucky because you guys will still be able to root your device. But I don't know as far as development. I don't know how far development will be for those 2 phones on those 2 carriers. So yeah, a lot of us that pretty much use mid-range devices are pretty much like left in the dark, and I think that's just what really is also hurting this whole vibe in mobile tech. Like, the innovation and the development is just slowing down to a halt. We don't have developers that are willing to actually jump in. Like, one of the worst things I read that had to do with the Sharp Aquos Crystal, and I mentioned this before in a past video, was person was up on the forums, and a person was basically talking about that a developer was willing to take a look at the Sharp Aquos Crystal, but if people started bugging him, then he was just going to can the project. And it was like, I made a blog about it on my personal blog channel, talking about it, where developers are just, some developers are being cocky about it. And what I mentioned in there, it's kind of hurtful, because it's like, you're going to have a ton of people who bought the phone. Okay, they bought the phone because they like how it looks, they like how it functions, they like the specs that it has. It's not a flagship device, so they saved money that they used on something else. And then, they want to have root done because maybe there's a few flaws in the device that maybe they want to be able to bypass it, and root would be the optimal decision to make the device better. And you have developers out there that's like, yeah, you know what, I'll see what I can do, but if you guys start bugging me, like, that's it, I'm gonna stop. You guys can forget it. Like, that's how I messed up. Like, we don't have a lot of developers that stay around anymore. A lot of them that used to flood all the forums are slowly going away. You know, they have lives, they have things going on. Like maybe they were developing in their college years, and like now they've gone into their career after graduating college, and maybe got some kids and settled down, and now like they're parents. So a lot of their time is just consumed being a parent. Like they don't have time to develop. So we're losing all the developers that we've had before, and the ones that we have now are mostly focused on flagships, and the ones that are even willing to look at mid-range and low-end devices are sometimes just a little bit too cocky and arrogant, and that just kills it. The buzz that we get from all this is just slowly dying down, and I think that's just what's sad and what I've been kind of like focusing on over the last week. Just thinking about it and talking about it on a video. It's just like, yeah, man, it's really kind of going down. We need to kind of liven it back up. Even at the same time too, like I noticed, like in the fanboy wars, it's really died down with Android and Apple fanboys. But that's a good thing. Don't get me wrong. I'm kind of cool about that, because I really hate seeing one person posting like, "Oh, my Galaxy S6 is good," and then like 19 Apple fanboys go inside there. The iPhone 6 Plus has better life. The iPhone 6 Plus has a better screen. It has better cell connectivity. It functions better. It does this better. It cooks toast better. It boils milk better. Like whatever. This gets really annoying seeing that. But of course, the fan wars haven't really stopped, because right now what I mostly see of is like HTC fanboys versus Samsung fanboys versus Moto fanboys versus, golly, man, there's just so many fanboys to certain brands, and they just constantly keep going at it, and it's like that also kills the experience. People don't want to go to forums to watch a bunch of people argue all day long about which brand is better, when each brand has something unique about it that makes it better than the next one over. So, I mean, that also kills it too. I mean, we need to we need a new golden age in mobile tech. We need more development done. We need developers that, tackle all the hard stuff, like devices like the Warp Sync that is like super hard to root, or the Aquos Crystals that's like super hard to root. That, from what I'm gathering online, or the ZTE Speed that's super hard to root, nearly impossible. We need developers who are smart enough to crack through those and actually make it happen. Because with manufacturers, one of the things that we hate about them is the fact that they really don't have like an afterlife support. Like once you buy the device, 9 times out of 10, the software that it's on may get one update, and then that's it. It's killed. It's done. It's finito. Finished. And it sucks, because one of the things that Google always wanted with Android, and why Android was basically like what they had their eyes on, and what made them actually buy Android and have it become Google's mobile OS, was the fact that development was open source, and it would always continue to move forward. And I guess Google's envisionment was that devices would always remain up to date. It's one of the things that I guess that puts pressure on Google is the fact that manufacturers are too lazy to actually have their devices up to date. And so with that being said, it's like there's always like some toughness when it comes to devices that fall into the shadow years, where it's like it's a great phone, it's a good phone, it had some really badass features, and then but it has no more support to move on to the next version of Android that's more current, more new. Like for me, I honestly do believe like the Warp Sync, which I think is a tremendous, awesome mid-range phone, is never going to see the likes of Lollipop. And we're already talking about Android M, or Muffins, or whatever they're going to call it. And I doubt when the Muffins or M comes out, would ZTE even focus on the Warp Sync and just double jump it to M rather than bypassing Lollipop. I mean, I doubt it. I honestly do believe like KitKat is going to be the only operating system that the Warp Sync ever sees, and we, that's what developers do is kind of take that little void, that pressure that we we kind of put on manufacturers to update their devices because they don't want to. So it's like, all right, well, we have developers that are smart enough to compile and make ROMs and keep our devices up to date, and then now they're cutting the legs of our developers off, and they're not allowing them to actually do that by locking down bootloaders. And so it's like, oh god, like we're suffering. A lot of people are suffering with the device that they have if there's certain things that they can only change with root access super user permissions. So it sucks. Totally blows. So Anyways, moving on from that, I just thought it was like really cool when I read it today. I was like, wow, for the first time. So apparently, it's being put out there that there will be two Nexus devices, two, because my screen probably froze. Two devices, two Nexus devices, and not a tablet and a smartphone, but two Nexus smartphones this year. Wow, I mean that's just this is odd. And the biggest, I guess you could say the more pop from that little bit of information is the fact that Huawei may have been chosen to do a Nexus device besides LG. So if we get two devices, we're gonna have one done by Huawei, we're gonna have one done by LG. Which I gotta say, I'm kind of glad that LG is gonna be doing another Nexus device because they did really good with the Nexus 5 and the Nexus 4. I mean, besides the glass backing that was just regular glass, it wasn't even Gorilla Glass, so dropping it from like 2 inches completely shattered your backing of your device, and it was pretty much like you need to put a case on that phone if you're gonna rock it. Just the build quality, besides that part, and just how it looked, how it functioned, was just really good. I mean, Nexus has always had issues with cameras, so I'm not going to go around and say it had a really good camera on LG, but Nexus has always kind of been a letdown when it comes to cameras. But then again, I find it weird when people kind of talk about like the camera sucks, but they're not a photographer and they don't really go out of their way to take decent quality pictures. They just point and shoot. So I mean, either way, if you just point and shoot with a smartphone, you're gonna get okay pictures. And at least those devices gave okay pictures when you took shots. Like they didn't give you phenomenal, just the high def, most beautiful pictures, like as if you were this really amazing photographer. They don't, yeah, I don't know. But anyways, so it's cool to know that LG is going to be doing a Nexus device, and I'm very interested in knowing what Huawei is going to put out there, like the just cosmetically the design of the phone, like what is it going to look like, what kind of cameras they're going to have, just out of curiosity, because I do like taking pictures. And just basically like the internal specs, like where are we going with internal specs? Because I honestly think that all manufacturers who are making low-end and mid-range devices should stop it with the 1 GB of RAM and 8 gigs of ROM. Okay, like we need to get past that hurdle already. Like start pumping out some 16 GB internal storage with 2.5 to 3 gigs of RAM for just mid-range, because flagships should be actually hitting it up to like 4 gigs of RAM, 5 gigs of RAM basically already. It should just go that way. So with Huawei basically making a Nexus device, that's actually going to be really cool. It's kind of sad though, just kind of like see some people's comments about it. Like, I guess the reason why that they're doing two, they're having LG do one and then Huawei is doing another one, is because Huawei is a Chinese company that manufactures smartphones, and people just don't trust the Chinese. They don't trust the Nexus device being made in China. Everyone just has all this, government conspiracy type stuff. Like the government is going to be watching us. Leaked information is going to go to China if we use a Huawei device. I mean, when I think about that, it's, with all the people out there who talk about it, it's just like, what would be any different than our own government spying on you through your camera? I mean, I've seen people talk about it in public, like, yeah, the government's spying on us. And then people be like, well, how are they spying on us? And then some guy will just he won't even say from your front-facing camera. Like, that's how in-depth he is with this conspiracy. He'll just silently look at you and just be like, come on. I mean, really? The government's been known to spy on people. It's been known to have all types of stuff, espionage and all that kind of stuff. I mean, they put it in plain view on the news for you guys to see, so you think very little of it, where you're just like, whatever, type thing. It's like, they don't lie about it. They tell you about it because they know you're not going to believe them if they tell you up front. Like, if they're like, yeah, we're spying on you. You're not going to sit there and be like, oh my God, you guys are invading my privacy. Like, no one thinks that way. The first thing that's going to come to mind is like, why? Just basically like, are you sure you're spying on me? What did I eat? What did I eat last week? Where did I go to eat? Who did I take a selfie with? All this other stuff. So I mean, to kind of post comments and be like, don't buy the Huawei version because in China is going to be stealing information. Like, first off, not everybody here in America is a government official. We don't have um, very high classified documentations laying around our house. Okay, like, you could be a person who lives in Wisconsin in a 2-bedroom duplex working at Burger King. It's not like, the Chinese are gonna like really want to go spy on you to see how do you make a perfect Whopper, or say you work at KFC. They're not gonna spy on you to be like, what's the Colonel's secret ingredient? They don't care about that. If anything, if people want to worry about the Huawei Nexus device, being a way for China to spy on us or whatever, then they should basically tell, any government official, like, you have to use these smartphones that we give you. You cannot use a Huawei Nexus device because you may be reading a classified document and China is going to be reading it too from your front-facing camera or your rear-facing camera, or listening to your conversations through your microphone without you even knowing it. It's the same thing like when people had that Facebook scare when it was like, as soon as one person decided to read what permissions the Facebook Messenger application needed to function properly on your phone, which I swear I still laugh today, everyone just went 8 bananas all over the Webernet, just freaking out and like messaging their friends and family like, uninstall Facebook Messenger because they could access your camera. They can see what you're doing. They can listen to your conversations. So it's like Facebook already can do that without even having to hack your phone and look. I mean, you put everything on Facebook. Like, you can't sit there and question, how does Facebook know that I wore this really raunchy looking outfit on a date Friday night? They know anyways because you put a selfie. You took a picture before you left the house. So it's like they don't have to go so far to know your life or what goes on in your life because you post your life on social network. So I mean, what do you expect? But that's how far like this whole scare thing goes. Scare tactics just goes that way. I've always believed in this message when it comes to that. If you really want a private life, then you need to get off social networking. You need to give up your smartphone, buy a regular cell phone, and just stay off the digital world, and then you shall have privacy if you do that. Because there's no way you have any kind of privacy if you're always going to be posting your stuff up there. Like, for me, you guys only know what I show you guys. Those people who have added me on Facebook or on Google Plus, you guys only know what I've shown you guys. But none of you guys really know the struggles that I go through. None of you guys know the hardships that I face every day. Just trying to balance my life out. Because I'm a dad. For those who actually pay attention, I have kids, and I have one coming along the way. And no matter what, they will always come first. I mean, their needs come before me doing this. This is something I do to just kind of balance my life and giving me some sort of sense. And it's so much fun to do. It's the fun thing that I have in life. I mean, some of you guys might think it's pathetic, but it's the funnest thing I have in life to do, is to do tech reviews, tech talk, toy talk, game talk, whatever. Live broadcast on Mondays. That's like the funnest thing for me to do. Whether anyone decides to tune in and watch or nobody's watching, it's still fun for me to do. Because at the end of the day, I'm a father, I'm a dad. That's like my main job. That's what I do, So it's like, with social networking, it's just a way that I get to actually communicate with a lot of you guys who actually care to communicate with me, like Ronald, Mark from Iowa. Like, I communicate with him, quite a bit on Google Plus. CV Tech Reviews, like we kind of like, leave comments on videos and just share information that we have that maybe the other one didn't know about. And it's the only way I get to actually communicate with those who actually care to communicate with me. But other than that, like, what you guys see on social network is just a tip of what you guys would probably know about my life. And that's the thing. Like, so with the Huawei device on Nexus, going back to the topic, really has got to worry about. If you're gonna like throw that whole thing about, well, you know, I do online baking and stuff like that. Well, honestly, I wouldn't do online baking unless I had like one of the most like badass full encrypt firewall. I mean, like I gotta have one made by someone who can hack the NSA. Make me a firewall, and then I'll do online banking because I don't trust the internet. That's the thing. The internet is not my friend. It's not my best friend. Its intentions is not to help me. Its intentions is to be what it is. With digital world to connect me to my family to me and my friends to me, movies and music and all kinds of other stuff that goes around the world. It's not just basically made just for me. The internet is a broad thing. And yes, but it's big. I mean, but you know, for what you got with it, it shouldn't have cost that much. That's just I believed it when the Nexus 6 came out. So, you know, I'm really hoping that maybe like Huawei can actually show these big timers like what a Nexus device should be. You know, 'cause LG is basically pretty much like on top of that game. Um, Samsung did all right, you know, both with the Nexus S and the Galaxy Nexus. It's been a real long time. I mean, the Nexus 9 done by HTC, but it's like really kind of sad. Like HTC hasn't made another Nexus smartphone, and if it ain't happening this year, I'm hoping it's happening next year. I would really love to. But if Google decides to say, you know, to HTC, like, yeah, you guys are going to be making our flagship hardware for 2016. Please, HTC, do not make the Nexus look like the HTC One M9 or the M10 for next year. That would just piss a lot of people off. I mean, if you guys agree, let me know. So anyways, yeah, besides LG and Huawei making the Nexus device, a couple things going around right now. Like, just read up that the YouTube desktop, I was gonna say desktop, why? Desktop is getting a makeover, so that's pretty nice. I mean, we've had a couple of updates with the Android app, which is really cool, and then of course YouTube Creator Studios app on the Play Store got a really nice update as far as like changing its UI and giving it that material design that some people like and other people don't. But I think it looks good, and I use it quite a bit. So I think it's about time that they did a makeover for the desktop version on for YouTube. About time that they do that. So and I posted up a small clip. It's kind of funny. I wanted to share with you guys, but you guys really should, if you're not subscribed to High on Android, and I'm talking about Max's second channel, not Xenomax, but the actual High on Android channel here on YouTube. You guys should actually follow it and subscribe to it because I was lucky enough, you know, I just decided to go on YouTube that night, and I noticed that Max Lee had a hangout session going on with like 10 people. And it was about mobile tech, but they really didn't go all nerd-like mobile tech. Like they cracked jokes or whatever. And like there was a guy from Seattle who just was really trying to convince them that the iPhone 6 Plus had better battery life than the Galaxy Note 4, and just kind of raised this whole thing, this whole little beef going on inside. They were calling him out, they were calling him a troll and stuff. You know, I mean, in the most negative way, like they were really trying to hurt his feelings because they could tell from his comments back. You know, he was ha-has and LOL. So, but it was a lot of good fun. It was fun as hell. It was fun to see Max Lee, you know, buzz off his butt. I mean, And you know he was buzzed when he was basically telling people that, what the iPhone 6 Plus is good for is you take it and you smash it, and then saying we're gonna be smashing iPhones and stuff. He was pretty gone. He wasn't like bad drunk, like where he was really talking a lot of crap, but it was refreshing to see him out of the usual mode that we only see him when he does his tech videos. Like, so it was great to just see him as his personality in just his everyday life mode. So that was kind of cool, and it was a lot of fun. I actually didn't get to be within the live chat, just because I didn't know about it. Like by the time I started watching it, it was already like an hour and 34 minutes into it, and but I mean it was super funny. I mean, like they touched base on a lot of things. I asked a couple of questions, and they asked, and one thing that's pretty cool is one of the writers for High on Android, I found out lives here in Phoenix, so that's actually pretty cool. You guys can subscribe to his channel. I forgot his name. I think his name is like Jeff Springer. He started doing his own mobile tech videos, and so besides that, basically, it was all kinds of good fun. It was great. Good times, and I hope they are gonna do another one on this weekend, because that's gonna be like super fun. So other than that, yeah, that's pretty much it for this live stream, guys. That's pretty much what I wanted to talk about, and so happy I got to do this. And yeah, so look out for Mondays. I'm going to try to bring you guys a live broadcast on Mondays, recapping last week's topics and stuff. That's pretty much what I'm going to go with it. And I hope that some of you guys will be able to join me next time on a live broadcast. I really want to get some people up here to just kind of like have, just really, good conversations, and, recap some of the stuff that I did on the week before, but also just, just randomly talk. It'd be really nice to have some of you guys up here. So hit me up. Maybe, I'll put a post out on Google Plus, and those that want to do it, we can set up something and work it out. But other than that, I mean, if I'm just going to be Lone Ranger on here, then yeah, I mean, I'll still do it, but I'll be doing it on Mondays, so that's great. So anyways, yeah, those who actually got in or whatever, thanks for watching. Those who haven't, you'll probably catch us later on YouTube. But if you do, thanks for watching. Leave a like if you guys enjoyed it. Subscribe if you hadn't, and share it across your social networks like Google Plus, Facebook, and Twitter. My name's Tito, and I'm signing out.